above the state average in all of those assessments. Like I said, we're a high-performing school district. We're an A school district, so if you're familiar with the state's rating system, school grading system, we are an A district, and actually we placed number 3 in the state out of all 67 counties on total points calculated in all components of the state's grading system. So we're very proud of that. Our graduation rate at Wakulla High School is 92.4%. And here's a quick demographic snapshot. We are 80% white, 10% black, 4% Hispanic, and 6% identify as two or more races. 55.5% of our student population is economically disadvantaged. And we have about 20.7% of students who have a disability in our school system. So one thing that is important to note about our school system is that you see a lot of returning alumni who have graduated and are products of our school system coming back to teach and then become leaders in our school system. We home grow a lot of our teachers. We are passionate about education. We're passionate about our students. When you observe our teachers teaching, it's not just a job to them. It's a passion. It's a calling. We're in it. Every decision that we make is how is this going to benefit our students. So yeah, that's a little bit about Wakulla County.
Go ahead with all of those hats. Wow. I'm Andre Gainey, Vice Principal of Jefferson K-12, a Somerset charter school in Jefferson County. To the east here, she said 5,000 students. We have 750 K-12 students. Let me give you a little bit about the Jefferson story. Jefferson County was a failing district for over a dozen years. The high school itself went through 13 principals in 12 years. It is the very first district in the state of Florida, and as far as we know, in the nation, where the Department of Education, the state of Florida, took the schools from the district and advertised it for bidding to 3 charter schools. We'd have to take a minimum of 3 bids. And so Somerset got the bid, and so we came in 2018 and took over the school system. They had been an F school system for nearly a decade, and currently the elementary, the middle, and the high is currently a C. After our first year, we moved it from F's to 3 C's. We are 90% African American, 100% free and reduced lunch. When we talk about the mental health plan, that's the area that you hear about the state of Florida, and that's the area where we need a lot of help. And I'm a vice principal, so I walk all morning. So I'm not used to sitting down, so that was kind of hard to do. If someone were to walk up to you and point you on your finger and said, you failed, you failed, you failed, you failed, you failed, you're a failure, you failed. After a while, they wouldn't have to touch you. All they have to do is just do like they go, okay, I failed, I get it. I know where to sit, I know how much to produce, I know how much work to do. As long as you don't put your finger in my head, I can accept what you've called me. And that's what we deal with on a daily basis. Changing the culture of students who believe that they've been a failure. And defining those who understand what success is and moving those to leadership roles so the students have somebody else to look up. The school system is designed for over 1,200 students. Yet 30% of the population going to come to Leon County for schools. What 30% of the population do you believe that is? They're former leaders, the students who are their top students. So therefore, those students who are there have very few students to look up to push them. So if your average student is what you would call a C student, everybody's aspiring to be a C student, which isn't going to get you far. So how do you change that mindset? That is our challenge. Our challenge is changing a culture of students into believing that there is a world for them, there's a place for them. When I got there in May of last year, there were students, the graduating class, who were bragging about the opportunity to go to Walmart in Tallahassee. There were students that had graduated that had never been any farther than Tallahassee, and Tallahassee to them was like New York City. One of the stories when we first got there, our football team, we brought in a new coach and he created a 7-on-7 program where those students got to travel. And there was a student that came back from one of those trips and said, Mr. Gainey, I've seen the world. I said, what do you mean you saw the world? He said, we went to Orlando, we were on the 7th floor, and I went out on the balcony, and I saw more of the world than I'd ever seen before. Now, I say that to say, if that's what they think their world limits are, then what are our challenges? And so when I come to you and see you here today, and I ask you, and I hear her say, mental health research and service delivery, and what can you do? Because it's not about what I can do. It's about what we can do to help those students. Mentoring the students, letting them see a different world. The mentoring piece is extremely strong. I don't need you to come out and tutor the students because we got teachers, but they don't have conversations with anyone outside of their world to tell them that they believe in them or that there is a world outside of that county. If you ever come to Jefferson County, there is no infrastructure. The big news this year was the Hardys was coming to town. You laugh, and I get upset just to hear the laughter. Because at that Hardys, 6 of my students are there, working at Hardys. At the Arby's, one of our seniors last year was the manager. A senior, the manager of the entire store. So everybody in town looked up to one of our seniors as one of the best business people in our town. The thing that scares me when it comes to our students is all parents tell their students that the world is theirs. And students believe that. But around the 8th or the 9th grade, everybody starts to look at their parents and starts to question what their parents are telling them. And if your parents don't have a job and have never had a job, and your parents are depending on the system, by the time you're in the 8th or the 9th grade, you start to believe that my parents don't know what they're talking about. Because there is no future for me. There are no goals that I have. All the goals I've been talking about, I don't even have anybody around me that's seeking those goals. So now those kids are stuck in a dilemma. Do I do the same thing my parents have done for the last 20 years? Or do I believe these other goals that I have? So I need people to let these students know that those goals are reachable, attainable. Because when all of us were young, we heard the word engineer. And to this day, some of us still don't know what that is. We've heard chemical engineer, computer engineer. We know all of these things that happen. And what we're up against and what you're up against and what we all are up against is reality TV. Because reality TV is real to them. There are students that want to be and aspire to be and plan to be and are going to be Instagram models. I said, oh God. And they take pictures all through class. And they go to the bathroom and redo their makeup twice a class because they're going to be an Instagram model. There are young men who are going to be on The Bachelor. And that is their goal. There was a time when you filled out a sheet, a thug was not a viable job. But if you look at reality TV, thugs, there are shows where they survive. When I was growing up, the bad guy got killed by the 2nd episode. But now the bad guy is on year 7, surviving. And so these are the goals of students that are looking today. I can be a bad guy and survive. I cannot have the same goals of living to 40 and 50. Remember, 30's old. 30's old to students. So when you talk about what you can give, you come out and do your research. You can come out and do service delivery. But there's money in mental health. Because every kid now has been bruised. Not just their ego, but their emotions. Because their dreams, the bubble of their dreams are burst by the time they're 15. So that's what I want you to do for any school that you become involved with. Be there to support, listen, and help these students realize that dreams are still a part of their lives and they are attainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andre. We now have Sylvia Jackson from Gaston County Schools, who will introduce us to what her school is like.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for my delay in arrival. This is a huge campus. And I'm an Indiana University graduate, so I didn't get to traffic around an FSU campus, which is beautiful. It has a great football program and basketball program. But thank you for inviting me here this morning. I am the Secondary Area Director for Gaston County School District. I'm also the Executive Director for Gaston Technical Institute. I grew up in Gaston County. I graduated from Havana Northside in Havana. I went away for about 35 years and came back about 10 years ago. Gaston County School District, you know the demographics, I'm sure. We're just like a bedroom community for Tallahassee. So you know our community. You know, I'm sure, a little bit about our academic needs. I'm not sure if we're to delve into that at this point.
You can.
Okay, but we have a high, low socioeconomic population. We have a relatively high unemployment rate. We're a rural community, obviously. That's why I'm here. So there are not very many local career opportunities. But when you have low socioeconomics, okay, that also ties into lack of early learning readiness skills. That also ties into lack of parent involvement. Most not because you're dealing with bad people. I've met very few parents that don't love their children. They love their children. They just don't know how to help them. And so when they come to us, we pray to get them at 4, but sometimes we don't get them until 6. They don't know how to hold a pencil. They don't know their ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, that probably most of you in this room, you got that when you were at home. They weren't read to. They don't have a lot of background knowledge because there's not very many places outside of Gaston County that they experience, okay? This is the community I know and serve, okay? So that's a little bit about Gaston County and my community. My background, by the way, is in curriculum and instruction. I've recently become very familiar with career and technical education. And my research as a graduate student was in dysfunctional reading, mostly at the secondary level. So in a nutshell, you know, that's the community we're talking about, and I'm not sure how my colleagues, the information they've shared, but certainly if you have questions for me, I'm happy to entertain them. Okay.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. So these are 3 very different school districts with, it sounds like, differing needs. And would the 3 of you mind maybe delving a little deeper into letting us know, you know, very particularly what needs do you see? I know we touched on it a bit, but maybe just tell us a little bit more about what needs does your district have, and then what would you and your district be interested in exploring?
There are several things that come to mind for Wakulla County, the first thing I know my colleague here talked about the mental health situation. As you know, our adolescents, our young people are facing a mental health crisis. There's a lot of things that people say that it's because of, it's the technology, it's the lack of family structure, it's this, it's that. But we are facing more issues of depression, of anxiety, of having to Baker Act. Several students, in our district daily, due to issues that they're facing. We are really, with the focus on mental health and school safety, trying to infuse socio-emotional learning curriculums into our schools. And also, mentoring is huge. I know my colleague here from Jefferson talked about mentoring. Some of these kids do not have positive role models in their life. So that's one aspect that we could definitely need help with. Another is recruiting high-quality teachers. I know our College of Ed, or at FSU, maybe to come and visit our communities and see how wonderful our students are. And I know all of us are very passionate about helping these kids and maybe trying to get some attention on our schools of recruiting some high-quality teachers. Another thing I can think of is career and technical education. We have an engineering academy. We have a nursing academy. We're starting an HVAC program. We have welding. We have automotive. We have all kinds of things in our school system that we would love to have someone who's passionate about their subject area. For example, you talked about the robotics. Our engineering academy, for someone to come in and be excited and teach them, things about these subject areas would be great. A big problem that we have in Wakulla too, and I know you guys, is the constant mandates coming from the Department of Education. I don't know if you are aware, but 2021, I think, all teachers who are implementing Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading interventions have to be reading endorsed. And we're facing a huge problem of trying to get all of these teachers endorsed in reading, especially at the elementary level. We have teachers who want to learn more about their subject area, so they can teach their kids more about their subject area. So connecting with our faculty to you guys so that they can have these learning opportunities. Those are a few things that I don't want to say talk, but
Before you go on, could you just explain your reference to the Baker Act and
okay, yes. A Baker Act is when we have a licensed clinical social worker. We have 2 in our district, and school resource officers at every school site. They have to do, if we feel like a student is going to harm themselves or someone else, then they can do an assessment, a mental health assessment, and if from there they feel like that student is in need of help, then we can take them to the behavioral health center in Tallahassee, either at Appalachia or TMH, so that they can receive some intensive mental health services, so that so they can get some help.
How often are you guys doing that?
Ooh. I wish I had some. It's better than it was last year, but I would say we're doing it daily. Daily.
I have one going on. Just looked at my phone. I have one going on this morning. This is Friday, so I know that we sent 3 to 4 kids off of our campus in the back of a police car to go to the Appalachia Psychiatric to be treated for psychological wards. And all of these kids that I'm talking about are under the age of 11.
We're seeing it younger and younger too.
And when she mentions about harm to themselves or harm to others, it's just that they feel so self-defeated. They feel so self-defeated, and it's not just academically. It's not, because academically The kids are still geniuses. They're still geniuses academically. But emotionally, what they have to go through, and I, in my position, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. There are times where I think I have my finger on the pulse of it. You know, we think it's self-esteem. And the kid that comes in happy this morning, you know, the word we use now is triggers. We're walking around trying to figure out what was the trigger today. And then there are times where I'll walk up to a child and I'll see the child and I'll stop 40 feet away because I'm waiting to see if I'm the trigger as an administrator until a counselor will get there, okay? And then we have to figure out on a campus who's the advocate for that child, because that child may not respond to anyone but the advocate. So our entire job is spent de-escalating. And that may be 4 hours spent with this child for the day, because you don't want to send the child away from their parents for the night. So you do everything that you can. And that's happening, as she says, on a daily basis in everyone's school system in the United States.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about how we work with FSU already, how you guys support our district. The College of Medicine has a STRIDE program that works, I think, for sure at Havana Magnet School and Shanks, James A. Shanks Middle School. We also have from the College of Education the pre-service teacher program that comes in, and you guys are amazing, okay? Because we have you in working with our teachers that have our students that are have serious deficiencies in reading, okay? And the College of Medicine also works with our district, mostly at the high school, by providing health services, which includes both physical type examinations and mental health support. We appreciate that support. What other things can you do to support teaching and learning in Gaston County? Well, we have some priorities. As I said earlier, early literacy and school readiness. That's really important. Increasing graduation rate. That means our students need tutorial support, mental health support, transitioning programs. Imagine what it would be like to be really, really bright, because we have some bright students in our district as well, as do my colleagues, okay? But not knowing how to make good use of, I can do algebra, I can do calculus, but nobody else went to school in went to college in my family. How am I gonna do that? I'm proud, I'll be lucky if I get a job at Walmart, okay? That kind of mindset. And probably there are people at home telling them that, okay? That kind of stuff, okay? And there are all the other stuff that they're dealing with, while coming to school and trying to pretend like they're normal, okay? That their home life is normal. Now, in the big scheme of things, having worked in a medium and a large school district and now a small school district, the same types of mental health issues that we have in Gaston County, I know for a fact they're probably in every other school district in the United States, and especially in the small and rural districts. It's just that they're more personified because small rural districts don't have the resources necessarily to help deal with some of the issues that are triggers in that. So, and then certified instructors. Gaston County can't pay teachers the same salary that right now that say Leon or Hillsborough or Dade or Duval County pay their teachers. If you have qualified you're a qualified instructor, you have high instructional skills, something other than money has to motivate you to want to come and work with our students. Okay? So, and what I can say to you, just putting in a plug for the county that I grew up in, North Florida is beautiful. Okay? It really is. It's beautiful. I've lived in the sidewalk and street lights, golf course thing, but it's nothing like sitting out on a boat fishing, or fishing off of a pier, or hiking. North Florida is beautiful. And in small rural communities, everybody knows everyone. Okay, so I say that to say, if you're thinking about going into education, or you're training students to go into education, keep in mind that when you're looking at Gaston County, we desperately need certified teachers. And we're working hard to increase the salaries of our teachers, okay? But we may catch up with Leon, but we'll probably never catch up with Duval, okay? So, and I mentioned mental health. One of the things that I'm looking forward to, I met with some representatives from the School of Education yesterday. And one of the things I'm looking forward to is this concept of the Florida Teachers of America Club being established at our high schools, and some type of dual enrollment agreement that would allow our juniors and our seniors to take classes on the FSU campus, some of their classes. And maybe by the time they graduate from high school, they may not have enough credits for an AA, but those credits are articulated into an education, school of education program, and they can actually earn their certification. What I'm hopeful, and I'm gonna tell you, 90% of the time, they're not gonna come back. Most of those students, some of those students will come back home, okay? And in that way, we're home growing our educators. So I think that's all I have in my notes for now. So.
We currently have the Department of Psychology. They do testing for our students, psychological testing currently from FSU, and also the School of Education was out Friday, and they're going to be doing a partnership starting with working on our ESC department coming up real soon. When they mention high quality teachers, what we need is the one thing that we have to understand about what education has become, because it's no longer a job, it never was, but it's no longer a career. It is now a mission. And you hear about schools like BYU where people go off to Congo or other countries to do their mission. But we need mission work here. We need mission work here, because what it really is we are trying to reach into the souls of students and turn on that light within them. Because our youth everywhere are being beat up. And there's an attack on our youth. Just like, because they're being told what they can't do, as we were told what we can do. They're being given limits. And versus, we've been told the world is flat. We've been told technology is supposed to change. But if you recognize what social media is doing to them, okay, some of the statistics claim that social media addiction is going to move to number 2 in 20 years, going to surpass alcohol addiction and be number 2 behind gambling addiction. So when we talk about our students, and even adults, we work in a cubicle. We don't need people anymore. And that's eroding our students. You grew up, you need people, you need friends, you need people you can trust, you need adults you can have a conversation with to build your vocabulary. You need people to ask you questions outside of the academic classroom so that you can use your critical thinking skills and use your vocabulary and learn that the things that you say make sense to you and make sense to others. You heard about the term bullying. Well, bullying is taking on an entirely new definition. Bullying when we grew up was that one kid that always picked on you. But now bullying is such a thing where, you know, everybody remember the show Mean Girls? But that's real now. Mean Girls, Mean Boys, your friends turn on you in a moment because peer pressure is real and being accepted is real. Most schools these days are uniform schools. So it takes away some of the individuality. It takes away some of the kids being picked on for clothes of this and clothes of that. But they still got shoes. They still got haircuts. They still got hairstyles. They still got glasses. Other things that they're being picked on a daily basis. So feeling accepted is one thing. I know many of you are in fraternities or sororities or different professional organizations. Some of that community service, you can give it to us. I'm not, they don't call it pledging anymore, but you know, you can send them out and say, hey, go out and work with this school. In education, I know there are schools that are moving now to, instead of you doing your internship your senior year, there are schools across the country that are, once you get in the Department of Education, they're doing it when you first get in. Because many people are spending that 4 or 5 years worth of money, do their internship their senior year, and realize, I don't like kids the way I thought. But mom and dad have paid for this degree and I'm only this internship away from it. So I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to teach. I'm going to teach for as long as I can handle it until I find something else to do. So there are people sitting in classrooms in front of kids that don't want to be there. And kids can figure that out. Okay? So those are some suggestions there. Because you have to know why you're doing, you know, many of us have gotten away, passion? Many of us have gotten away from why we're doing the different things we're doing, whether it's education, psychology, engineering, math, whatever it is. And it has to be to make the world a better place. And one of the places you can start, trust me, is our schools. I mean, if you want to come and just sit in our library and study, we'll take it. We'll take it. We have a group on campus that we call, you know, our fathers. And they asked me, what do you want to do? I said, just walk. Just walk around campus. Just let them see you walking around campus. On your way to work, stop and get a cup of coffee at the cafeteria. Just walk. Let them see adults. Let them see adults doing adult things, standing, having a conversation without picking at each other, without having to hit each other, having a conversation without picking up your cell phone while you're talking. You know, being an example to kids is the best thing we can actually do. So, you know, what I want from you, anything that you have.
Just a few random thoughts that I have. We are an AVID district. Do any of you know about the AVID program? We just expanded it to our elementary schools. Our middle schools are, actually River Springs is a national demonstration school, and it's in our high school as well. It stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. It is taking a select group of students, first generation, low socioeconomic, minority, giving them the skills, mentoring them, giving them support to have access to rigor in the classroom, to be able to handle that rigor through tutoring and support, and then build that college culture so that when they get to high school, they're taking those advanced classes, they know, you know, they're on that pathway to college. We have college kids who actually come in to tutor our AVID kids as part of that program. Another thing that I was thinking about is how we just struggle with lack of instructional time. There's never enough time for instruction. I know one of the talking points is how is a rural district different than a large district? And you've got to imagine, if you live in a big city, there are neighborhood schools. These kids walk to school, they're there in a minute, it's right there. You're talking about busing kids in a large county to one school. We have kids sitting on the bus for over an hour, okay? That they're in our care, that no instruction is happening. So we piloted a program where we put tablets on a bus and trying to get them access. That's one thing that we're trying to do. How can we maximize the time that we have with these kids so that they're involved in educational related activities? We do have an articulation agreement with FSU. We have students on your campus that are taking your classes, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them. We have an articulation agreement with TCC and here at FSU and with Lively. What's very important to us is we need those trade professions too. It's important. This world does not work without them. So giving all of our students a variety of opportunities, whether it be, advanced placement classes, dual enrollment classes, CTE classes, all of those types of things. The Mag Lab, we take visits to the Mag Lab's wonderful. We used to have a gentleman, I can't remember his name, he would come out and he would do demonstrations at our school, and the kids would be so excited to see those demonstrations, just to, just that love of learning and sharing what you guys do with them. I think I've touched on that before, but yeah, those are a few of my thoughts.
That's great. Yes. Just want to add, in terms of research, if you're, now the term dyslexia actually isn't a closeted term. So if you're doing research, if there's opportunities to do research, I think that's helpful in our community. Research on resilience, okay. How, what type of demographics or person, what strategies are individuals using to overcome difficult situations in their lives. Dealing with post-traumatic symptoms and things like that. I imagine for many people, the concept of school-age students having post-traumatic issues probably isn't a concept that most people would entertain. I don't know if you've heard of MESA, Math, Engineering, and Science Achievement. Probably because the new STEM, I'm old, okay, don't be fooled by Clara. Okay. The new buzz phrase now is STEAM, STEM, STEAM, okay? From my perspective, from what I can tell, pretty much the same. But if there are summer programs that connect with middle and high school students, that take them out of their community for, say, 4 weeks, okay? And gives them an opportunity to, say, live on campus and take a couple of classes and that type of thing. That's an experience that will help them see themselves past what their significant caretaker is doing, okay?
I think you hit it right on, nail on the head, is expanding learning opportunities.
Right.
Learning is not 4 walls of a classroom. There's so much more to learning than that.
If you have a middle or high socioeconomic, you're lucky to be in that category. During the summer, your kids are going to Disney World, or just going camping, or going to visit auntie and the uncle or somebody this place or that on the road. The majority of my kids in my community, they don't get those opportunities, okay?
After breakfast, get out the house, and when I get back from work, you can come back in the house. You're not burning up my air conditioning.
And you're
You're
not
not eating up my food.
And you know what they say about idle hands, right?
That's
Or
right.
idle minds.
So I wanted to, you know, research, and if you have students that are working on, say dissertations, and stuff, just if it's elementary, you contact our elementary director. If it's secondary, you contact me, or post-secondary, you contact me. But the research is great, especially if we can come to agreement that you'll share that information with us.
Yes, the results of what you're doing, so that then the county schools have something to use as they go forward. And that's something I really love about what we're learning today is a lot of grants and requirements for different funding have that broader impact statement, which can seem like a little box to check. It can seem very cut and dry. Oh, I need to just prove I'm changing the world, you know, and this is actually, like you're saying, it's a mission. This is not just ticking that box, but leaving a legacy, and your research suddenly becomes something that changes their lives, and that can be the difference between working at Walmart and actually going for an education, you know, and aspiring to something beyond where they've grown up. And then maybe, like you're saying, coming back and giving back to their community. You're starting a ball rolling, and it's not just a requirement anymore. It's a mission. I love that. So before we open it up to questions, how can people, I know you mentioned, Sylvia, how people can get in touch with your county school and get things going. How can people get in touch with Wakulla, with Somerset Jefferson, if they have an idea and they want to get to the right person?
I can give you my contact information. I would be happy to speak with you if you have an idea that you want to kick around. We can kind of talk about it. Again, my name is Krista Sharon, Krista. Last name is Sharin. My email address is my first name, Krista.Sharon, at WCSB, which stands for Wakulla County School Board.us. That's the best way to get in touch with me, but I will also give you my office number is 926-0065, extension 9524.
850-997-3555. And in the office, they know me as Mr. Gainey.
Can you say that again?
850-997-3555. The email is Gainey, that's AGAINEY at SomersetJefferson.org. That's Somerset, SOMERSET, Jefferson.org.
Okay, for me, it would be Jackson S. at gcpsmail.com. Jackson S. at gcpsmail.com. And you can reach me at 850-627-9651. Jackson is a very common name. We have about, I want to say almost 11 of us, and probably 4 of them are at the county office. But if you ask for Dr. Jackson, they'll get you to me, okay?
And one thing I would like to say too is, you know, everything that you propose to me, I would have to run through my chief academic officer and superintendent. They are extremely protective of instructional time and our students. So when you come to me, make sure you let me know, you know, how is this going to impact instruction in a positive way and help our students.
All right, and we'll go ahead, if you've signed up at the front desk, even if you didn't register, get your email up there, and we will send out an email with this info as well. So you have an extra source coming in. So this was fabulous. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes.
Hi, I just wondered if the three of you could speak to what your school district's process is for volunteers and for researchers, because in my experience, different districts have different requirements in terms of the background checks and all of that.
Absolutely. There is so much legislation that's come out with school safety laws that you do have to go through a process to become, I think you have to be level 2 cleared. That goes through our HR department. They're very, very, very helpful. I can put you in touch. You know, if you reach out to me, I can assist you through that process. But you would have to, yes, definitely get cleared. And then we have what's called the Raptor system at each school system, where you have to scan your ID, and it compares it against all the, you know, sexual predator databases and all. I mean, we're high tech now with all this stuff as far as security. So yes, there's definitely a process. It's something where you couldn't just show up. So we would need to do that prior to. And I don't know if you'll.
Ditto.
For volunteers, you would, actually, there's a process, there's an approval process that occurs through our parent services. And so that includes, you know, them doing a background check on you. For research, depending on which area the research is in, if it's elementary, then it's the elementary director. If it's secondary, it's me. And we are very protective of instructional time. But once you put your request in, we're gonna want an abstract of your research. We're gonna want to know that you have IRB approval. We're gonna want to know either the chair of your dissertation committee or your supervisor. So that's what we would want.
There was a question in the back.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. I was wondering if the clearance process is sort of shared at all, like if you already have clearance in the Young County schools, for example, would you go through a separate process with you, or could you just transfer that over?
It's a separate process.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is separate, but if you already have a clearance, it expedites it a little bit with Gaston. You're not gonna be able to get on any campus or the district office without some type of legal ID. You should know that as well.
Yes. In the back.
Hello everyone, so can you say a bit more about the needs of your teachers and the kinds of supports that you provide for your teachers for instruction and improvement?
Our teachers are also always looking for professional development opportunities. I can think we have our statistics teacher who wants to, she teaches a few engineering courses, wants to get more classes, you know, to expand, you know, what she can do as a teacher. We also have, you know, like I said, those teachers who need to become reading endorsed. ESOL endorsed, you know, that's another thing these teachers need. Anything that they can do to, you know, our teachers are hungry. They're hungry for information and hungry to improve themselves. We offer a lot of professional development, but it's a very fine line because we want to be, I mean, they have families, they have, you know, we have to be very careful because it is a balance. But if they had more, I mean, I know our teachers would definitely take advantage of, you know, anything that you guys had to offer. We would love to be able to offer it to them.
Professional development as well as, now if you are a guest speaker, if I pair you up with a certain class and you're gonna be a guest speaker for that day, you just need the one-time clearance for Raptor. And once you're there, of course, I'm gonna try to sign you up for more stuff.
Okay, Gaston has a professional learning director. Her name is Dr. Ida Walker. She's also a graduate of FSU. And so anything related to professional learning, our preference would be to have it go through her department. And she's just Walker I with the rest of my email information. In terms of teacher prep, right now, obviously, because there's a high need of certified teachers in Gaston County, we have, and our salary is really low. We have a lot of teachers with, what do you call, alternative certifications or seeking. We have individuals seeking to get alternative cert. So if you have a program, say a GK prep or tutoring program, that would be excellent. Also, in my conversations with the School of Education Representative Ms. Rose,
Scalpel.
Seattle, yes, Seattle, okay.
Scalpel.
Scalpel,
Yep, you got it.
okay. I understand you're working on a master's degree program where students, or you're trying to build some program where students get their undergraduate degree plus their teacher certification with also being certified in being reading endorsed and ESOL endorsed. And I'm just, man, I hope y'all getting that going on, okay? Because we love to have student interns in our district, so.
Ditto. Yes.
So I have a few questions, but I don't want to take over the conversation. So, but I'll start with my first question. Is a lot of the challenges that you all are talking about are because of consequences that exist outside of your schools, which suggests to me that there should be, or maybe could be, community engagement opportunities. And so who are the big community agencies who engage with your children both in or out of school, who maybe could be brought to the table to support these needs? And if you don't have them, we can work on, like, who do you want to see there, you know? Like, for example, I'll give an example. United Way of Big Bend covers your counties, right? And so they have a Reading Pals program that may be in some of your schools, I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking, or the Early Learning Coalition, or any of those kinds of agencies, are they actively engaged with your district, or is that something we need to work on?
I can tell you in our district, we have Capital City Youth Services, which is phenomenal. We have Big Bend Hospice that comes to do grief counseling, that type of stuff. We have Big Bend community-based care. We have different therapy providers that come in. But honestly, one of the biggest influencers, and this is probably common with a rural small district, are our churches. Our churches are a huge influence on our youth that get plugged in and do things with our, they have the food banks, they have, the clothing drives, the school supplies, they have the opportunities for them to go after school and do things. So I would say that would be our number one.
And one of the reasons behind that is, like you said, because of the transportation. Once they're off campus, that's it for the day. So they go back into the community. So having a community outreach center at the school traps them at school, and a lot of times they can't get home. Like, we provide a 4:30 bus 3 days a week, for our after-school activities, because once parents can't get there to get them.
That's right, same thing.
So if you do it at the churches or the library, or even at the parks, those are places where you can reach out to. Parent support, and parent support. Because if the student, that imbalance is coming from somewhere. Okay, so you have parents who are frustrated with themselves, frustrated with the school system for all of these years, and frustrated with trying to, help their kids. There's something I used to do in schools I worked with in Miami-Dade. I would not allow parent conferences in the little chairs, or even sometimes even in the classroom. Because if I had a bad experience when I was in school, when I sit in that classroom and I start looking around, and I see those charts and all that stuff, and it brings back the memory. And if school was hell for me, then all of a sudden I'm building a wall in this conversation. And I don't hear anything the teacher has to say, and I go on the defensive. Because I had a bad experience in school, so I'm still angry about school. So a lot of times having parents outside of the school in conversations, places where they're winners, can help.
Okay, for Gaston County, we work with Healthy Start, and my contact with Healthy Start is Dr. Joy Anderson. Okay, Gaston Interchange, they've been doing some work with early literacy, but I know they could use additional resources and support. We've been training community members to go into the classrooms and service volunteer tutors. And so the contact there would be Judge Parson. If someone emails me, I can give you more specific contact information. We work with Career Source Capital Region in terms of, you know, trying to create training opportunity for Gaston County residents. I'm thinking parents, you know, single parents, what have you. And we work with United Way, just district-wide. 21st Century Program. If you want to reach out to Rose Raynette at the district office, we could use some support. Remember when I mentioned about, well, I didn't, you know, was talking about students having experiences outside of their normal. Gaston County doesn't have a youth track club. Gaston County could really benefit from a youth track club, okay? It's something else to do other than sit around, when you go home, just sit around, okay? A golf team. If there's anybody in here that plays golf, the concept of playing golf, that's just not something that my students experience. Chess, okay? Tennis, you know. So helping out in the 21st Century Program. Something like the track club, we have Marcel Green that worked with Talcum Electric. She and I have been having some conversations about, you know, how to get a track club, because you know we're like third, fourth, or fifth. We always in one of those categories in the state in terms of the healthiness of our county, okay? And so having those kind of experiences for our students would be great. And then, so Rose would be the person for that. And then the Gaston County Literacy Program through the Quincy Library, I think it's Ms. Vandeham. She works with adults and teaching adults to read, okay? So that's some areas.
Let me just get this question.
For those of us who want to work with special education teachers or speech therapists, do we need to contact you first, or is there someone else that we should contact immediately?
Contact me first, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Save, and I can put you in touch with who you need to talk to.
In the front and then.
Yeah, Mr. Gainey mentioned something about lack of mentorship, like there are tutors but not enough mentorship. So what sort of program is there for people who don't want to be Instagram models but are more maybe academically oriented? What sort of mentorship program is there for them currently, and how?
The mentorship program that they have, there's like a Big Brothers program that they have through one of the groups, the Big Boys, Boys to Men, they kind of have it. There's a PAL organization. The thing with that is these are the gentlemen that they've grown up seeing. They're somebody's uncle. They see them in the church, and so they motivate them and they see them, but they're also in a position where they see their families as well. So it really is really extremely beneficial. But the conversations are the conversations they've been having for 20, 30 years. So any program, even if you're going to come out and join that group, it's still a different face talking about something different.
Right.
Are there other mentorship programs in your counties?
Yes, we do have a mentorship program to where we can connect an individual with someone, with a student who is in need of a mentor. We have that. If you have questions about that, you can give me a call and I can give you more information about that.
All right, in the back.
I'll stand up. Hi, I'm Joanne Milford. I'm at the Multidisciplinary Center here at FSU, and we
Yay,
provide
Yay!
psychological services
love
for each of your districts.
Yes.
And I just wanted to mention that just yesterday we finalized a deal with Save the Children, which is an international trauma resilience program, and we're going to be going into Gaston County in the fall and providing a program called Journey of Hope, and also a HEART program, which is an art therapy, which is responding to hurricane-impacted districts and trauma resilience and care. We'll be serving 72 students in Gaston County. This is 100% funded by Save the Children. And we'll be using, under the College of Social Work, we'll be using our MSW interns to provide that service. So I think, partner, and Save the Children contacted College of Social Work to see if we could help implement this program. And so I think the more we can find these organizations that have money and funders and provide these services to the smaller rural districts, I think there's money out there. I've also met with FEMA recently. They're interested in providing some services as well. So, we just got to find them. But it's been a little bit of a process getting this, but we finalized that deal yesterday. So that's 72 students getting services.
You guys are great. We appreciate, all the services you give our district. One thing I wanted to say too is a problem with a lot of the programs in our district is sustainability. There's so much turnover, especially with our therapists, DCF workers, all of that. There's so much turnover just when a kid gets comfortable speaking to someone, that person's gone.
Right.
And then they have to start all over, and that's just so defeating to those kids because it's like they can't establish a strong relationship. Trust, yes. Yeah, but that's an issue, a whole other issue.
I'm in the College of Social Work, and I wanted to say that I appreciate all of the discussion, particularly around mental health and trauma, and I'm very interested in that type of work, and was interested in what you have in place now with regard to, we're talking about a lot about service learning and training, but what you have in place or thoughts that you have with how we can track the effectiveness of that. Because I think a lot of stuff is coming in and going, but we don't even know the effects of it, and just like your thoughts about, or your willingness to, be interested in learning some more about that and getting that feedback.
We actually implemented a new position this year because what we were seeing was we were giving all these resources to these parents, but they weren't going through with the resources. They were going to therapy one time and then quitting, and nothing was being resolved. So we have a full, and I would love to put you in touch. Her name's Belinda McElroy. She is in charge of all of our mental health. Like she is actually tracking these kids, and she's tracking these services, and following up and making sure that these things are happening. And I think that's extremely important. And I would love to connect you with her because, we're doing the trauma-informed care, first aid, mental health training, all of that with our faculty. And so she's just a great resource. I would love for you to connect with her.
And then in the back then?
Yeah, hi. So I was very interested in the comments that you said that some teachers are very eager to learn more about their subject, and I was wondering in a very big picture how that works, because I'm interested in hosting. I'm in engineering, so I'm interested in hosting teachers for probably statistics, or I do a lot of programming, so probably they can learn from our lab or research, and then they can bring that to the kids and so on. So I'm more interested in that direction. So I was wondering, what is the big picture, the timeline, and how the commitment and all these things that that probably I just need more information so I can, have a better approach if I go in that direction.
I, again, would love to put you in touch with our Chief Academic Officer. She has a really, really good gauge on the needs of our teachers and what their interests are and how they want to move forward with learning more about their subject area. And I think what you're describing would be something that our teachers would love to do. We would just have to, like you said, work out what would that look like.
Yep.
And we could definitely have those conversations.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, I need to make a phone call or an email or
Uh-huh.
something?
Sounds good to me. Yep, absolutely.
I'm gonna be candid. We get a lot of requests for, we have this program for your teachers, we have that program for your teachers. And most of them either come to the elementary or the secondary director. And our approach to dealing with those is that we push the information out and interested teachers would contact you. Because we have probably almost approaching 50% of our teachers have alternative certifications. Gaston County does a lot of its training in-house. We hit the ground running in the summertime, so we have required training for our teachers because we have high turnover and we have high alternative cert. If you have, skills in science or reading or whatever, and you want to work with teachers, the person to contact would be Dr. Walker. And sharing your skill set, she might be able to incorporate you into a summer program. But we get so many calls about, or emails, this great training opportunity, we'll pay your teachers, and we don't mandate, we push it out, and then we push it out with the caveat, it can't interfere with reading endorsement, it can't interfere with ESOL. And every now and then, teachers pick, decide to participate, and I think that's awesome. I just wanted to be candid about that. The other thing, tracking effectiveness of mental health and support programs. I'm a science person, science, math, I'm a teacher first, taught science and math. That's my, my real background. And so I'm concrete, sequential. I think and guess, and the best approach would be starting at a school like CPA, Carter Pam Moore Academy, where the students that we have at that school have so many traumatic issues. They're there for a reason. They're deficient in credits. They're 2 or more grade levels behind in reading. They're most often not living with their birth mom or birth dad. So, there's just, that's a researcher's heaven, CPA. And there's such strong need, one, to provide mental health support and then documenting, tracking your students. Okay, say you get, you are working with 10 or 12 students. And as my colleague said, you can be there for longer than 2 weeks, or say 6 to 8 weeks at least, okay? And then tracking the effectiveness of your involvement. Me personally, I would like for you to be there the whole year, okay? But that particular school site probably could benefit from a lot of mental health research and support and documentation telling us what works, what doesn't work, what we're dealing with. We have a pretty good idea of what we're dealing with there. So if that's helpful, and anytime with research, you give me a call, let those guidelines, let me know what it is you want to do, I'll put you in touch with the right person.
And I think that's the thing, I'm here as a representative of my school district, but we have so many people that specialize in certain things that as the point person, we can then put you in the right direction of where you need to go, depending on what your goals are and what you would like to do.
Absolutely.
Can you repeat the name of the school that you were just talking about, the location?
Carter Paramore Academy, we call it CPA, okay? And if you go to our website and under schools, you'll see Carter Paramore Academy. Paramore has an unusual spelling, it always shows up as an error, but that's how we spell it, okay? Okay.
So I think your hand has been up a while. You may have to be our last question, but hopefully this conversation can continue. I just know we are on a time limit here. So
Okay.
go ahead.
So I've got three quick things. One, maybe you guys can help me with. We have a grant, and we got it from the Army, and we have what's called a summer program that's called the FSU iCamp. And it started last summer, extends to this summer, and already we are like #1 for technology focused summer camps of all the grantees, right? So we are really proud of that. And it focuses specifically on underserved populations. So one of the first folks that we definitely went to Gadsden because we wanted definitely to work with them. Now here was my challenge. So this is interesting because the grant provides $100 per week to the student. It gives them money to come to me.
Wow.
But guess what? I couldn't get them to come to me. Guess what? We don't have transportation.
I'll get you, Russ.
What? And so I was like, you don't have to. I had 10 names from Gadsden, and I only got 2 to come. And that was a struggle. I had to get them carpooling and the parents together and that kind of thing. And when I asked the Army, hey, I need transportation money, can you get me transportation money? There, well, you see in the grant it says, no transportation. So I was like, beating myself over the head. So, I love the bus idea though, thank you for that. But I don't know, are there ways, because to get them to our school where we can have the most impact? Imagine, 5 weeks.
I'm getting transportation.
Okay. And that was the issue. And it was really maybe just 5 or 6 kids, but I had 10 that wanted to only, that whose parents could bring them daily. And imagine the impact where they're getting their money, they're learning about technology for 4 days. On Friday we had, camps and other like field trips, but it was pretty good. And
The age limit.
it's high school, so it's rising 9th through 12th.
Okay.
And so I'll be pushing some of that again. I got 9 slots to fill this time, and I'm hopefully, so.
Well, if you reach out to me, I'll see what I can do, but I want you to consider the paradigm under which your grant was written for a small rural district.
Yeah.
Okay, the paradigm under which the grant was written didn't take into consideration, for example, that Gaston County has a 500 square mile radius.
Wow.
Okay, these people, they have basically, not of the people in public schools, because Gaston County has a lot of money in Gaston County too, I'm sure you know that, okay? But the students in public schools, most of their parents are making minimum wages. They struggle to get to a school to have a parent conference or have gas money sometimes to go to work. Okay, I'm not.
She's
it's
not
just-
exaggerating. We
yeah.
have a person that we pay to go pick up parents for a parent conference.
So let me just say this.
Consider the paradigm, and this is for everybody in the room. Consider when you write your grants, consider the communities that you're writing the grants.
Well, just
Jefferson
to
County
understand
goes
this.
from the
Yeah.
border to
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah, well, just know this. We have requirements that they will allow. Transportation was one of those that they did not want to fund. So that's one of those things. Asha, watch this. They don't even want me to feed them. In other words, they didn't provide food money. So I had to go find people, sub, pizza, whatever I could, because to do that. You know, so that's an extra above and beyond that I would do, but just to let you know some of those challenges. AM Pathways, we have a current grant, and advanced manufacturing, you say you have welding and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We'd like to extend our pathways to look at high schools and that kind of thing, so I can see a future partnership there. And we also have a grant to teach teachers, technology teachers as well. So if you have tech teachers who want to get, you know, continuing ed points, that kind of thing, we can provide those as well.
That's awesome.
So,
I like what I'm liking what I'm hearing.
okay.
I think we'll let this conversation continue, but
Yeah.
I am going to, oh yes, and lastly, our director, Beth Hodges.
Just a quick question, do you all have a little time if people wanna come up to you after?
Sure.
Yes.
Great, awesome. Then let's go ahead and, if you, oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.